Hi, my name's Jordan. In this video, I'm going to provide just a brief introduction about myself and the courses that are being run. In the internal martial arts and also the Chinese arts, there's this term Sifu. I wanted to start by just giving my interpretation of that and how it's used in the school that I've created. For me, if we have a look at Western education, you have schooling, then you have a degree, and you can have masters or a PhD. So I equate it more to a master's. So if somebody were referring to me as Sifu Jordan or something like that, it's just an acknowledgement that I've spent years dedicated to studying and mastering these arts. Um, right now, it's probably over 15 years, so it's a lot longer than a master's degree, which is normally like 2 years or so forth. Um, so that's it. There's no sycophancy or anything like that. It's just an acknowledgement that there's somebody there who's put in the work and effort and study, and then has and what I've done here is put something together that it can be easily translated and given back to the student so that they can take it all on board as quickly as possible. I'm a real big believer that anyone who studies the internal arts, in order to learn the foundations, it should really take no more than 2 years. So I'd really like to see students who can do all the Qigong courses that I provide, go through Silnam Tao, Chum Kiu, Piercing Hands, and also knock over the wooden dummy all in a 2-year period. I'm not sure because it's a lot of information. Um, I'm not sure if I could squeeze in the weapons in that time so they can slot in after. But the individual already has so much, and they should also be able to, defend themselves. It's quite important in a martial art. So that's how I've interpreted all this and presented it back to you. The other reason is if we just take a look at a brief history. I got into the martial arts as a young kid, but I only got into it because my parents put me in there because I was quite shy, right, and reserved. It wasn't something that I was gunning for. So no stories about, oh, I was 4 and did this and this and this, and I've been doing it. It was really nothing like that. Um, I tried it on again when I became a teenager. And so as a young little tyke, I was doing Taekwondo. And then as a teenager, I was doing karate. And then later, when I went to New York, I wanted to pick something up where I could at least interact um, rather than like punching or kicking the air and so forth. And this thing called Chi Sao caught my eye, and I found this Wing Chun school, and I started learning there in New York City. When I returned from New York City, and I think this was in the early 2000s, I lived around the St. George area in Sydney, and I found the HCH Wing Chun school run by Susanna Ho, and I trained there with them as well. And these are just different schools I've gone to. None of them have given me permission to teach on their behalf or anything like that. It's just I'm going through that. During that time, I ran into in Sigung, Greg Choi. He's a direct student of Great Grandmaster Yip Man. And so I trained with Greg in a one-on-one setting over a 2-year period, a very intense type of training where I probably trained somewhere between 2 to 3 hours a day. And then on Saturday, I'll train about 8 hours. And then Sunday, probably back to 2 to 3 hours, unless I was there with him and would do that again. And this is where, during this training session, where he gave me that idea of it shouldn't take 10 years to learn all these things or 7. It should be given up front within a 1 to 2 year period. And then you can take your life to master all of those pieces as best as possible. After finishing that training with Greg, he appointed me as a Sifu, and hence why I have that title. and I was training a few students, but I felt young and didn't really want to train. So I stopped the training and I went, sorry, teaching, I should say, not the training. And I went back to doing more study. Um, During these years, I just kept to myself and just trained every day. I also met different masters around the world. I don't have to name them all. In the course, I'll talk about a few of them here and there. And they taught me a number of differing techniques, um, both across meditative techniques, to qigong techniques, to martial techniques, to healing techniques, whatever I was interested in or was looking to achieve. That's where I beelined and met with masters in those arts. During that course of time, I then came across someone who was exceptional in all of those sort of fields. And through their teachings, I realized there was this another undercurrent of, we can call it the esoteric, more in the sense that the exoteric is just for everyday students and people in public, and then there's this sort of hidden knowledge. And once that was revealed to me, I realized, well, all of that is in these teachings that had already been given to me about a decade ago. And they were all entwined and hidden in there. And that was part of the journey. And it was much the same as his journey, because he had been um, trained in, well, multiple arts, but his favorite was ninjutsu. And so there was all of these hidden things within the different forms that he did. And so I found that very unique. And well, hence, that's what this course is. This course is revealing what those techniques are and then giving you these underlying pieces. What we'll find is this isn't something that is closed to only Wing Chun. These internal techniques, they will be found in many internal arts, much like ninjutsu that I've mentioned, could be Xingyi, Tai Chi, Bagua, all right? The list goes on. I think the thing that you just need to know is that when we look at Qigong, um, we can kind of put them into, there's multiple camps, but I'm just going to dumb it down to two. And we can have a martial Qigong, right, which I teach during the Silnam Tao, Chum Kiu, Piercing Hands, Wooden Dummy, Pole. That's where that area is taught. And then there's another type of qigong, which is like it can be a healing or spiritual type of qigong. So those two balance like that. And what I do is I begin the course with the health and healing vitality type qigong, so you get that understanding of what it is. And I then in it pepper in some martial, just so you can kind of get a taste for those people who want to progress into that, where it becomes 100% of what you do. That's how the course is designed. And I think it's a fantastic way of taking the ancestral roots of Taoism and Buddhism, even parts of Confucianism. But there's no religion in there, and there's no cultishness or overbearings. I've simply just leveraged their techniques, or that they've been taught to me, and I wish to pass those techniques to you. So it's just a type of technology of how the mind, body, and spirit or energy operate. And I think it's a fantastic art to share with the world, that can make yourself better, and you can go out and make the world a better place. Thanks for listening.